Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to another conversation in Mastering Alchemy. I'm bringing to the stage Jim today to talk about the rays of creation. Hello, Jim.
Hi, Vida. Nice to see you.
Excellent. Welcome, welcome. Hey, I am excited to talk about these rays of creation because there's a lot packed in, and it's something that starts to get inside the Mastering Alchemy work at about level 2. But there's so much in them. It's so big. Can you give us a good overview? Where are they? What are they? And where do they come from?
How long do you have? So the rays of creation are everything. They're everything. So let me break that down. Everything that is what creates atoms, electrons, molecules, what puts together the orderliness of the universe. It's how things, the chair you're sitting on, actually comes together into some kind of format that allows it to be dense and something that is stable and doesn't fall apart as soon as you just sit down on it. So the rays of creation are literally everything. You use them with every breath, with every thought you think, you use the rays of creation. You have no clue that you're using the rays of creation, and nobody ever bothered to tell you about the rays of creation. And until kind of the archangelics laid out Mastering Alchemy, they basically said, let us explain how creation forms into form, physicalness, and non-physicalness, because the rays are used everywhere for everything. So, and we talk about in Mastering Alchemy pretty much 10 rays of creation, but there are many more. And when you really get right down to it, it's like making a cake and you have 100 different choices of ingredients. And then as you start to make the cake, you put together X number of ingredients and it's a sensational cake. But you didn't really pay attention to the nuances of the recipe. So you say, well, I'm going to make that cake again tomorrow. Never tastes the same. So until you get to the point where you're able to recognize, when I put salt into the cake, I get this result. And when I put sugar in, I get this result. And so one of the things that happens in our third dimensional reality is we're pretty clumsy about creation. We don't pay attention to how we set things in motion. We don't pay attention to what we say. We don't really understand what we believe quite often, because let's start there with belief. You say something to me and I hear it and go, oh, that's nice. And then somebody asks me a question 2 days later and I pull what you said back into my consciousness and say, well, it's going to rain tomorrow, whatever was said. Did I validate that? Was it correct for me, even though it was correct for you, whatever that statement was? And what we seem to do is we collect a lot of information and then we put a lot of information together, and then we have expectations about that information. And then we go to make that same cake again, but it never seems to come out the same. And then if in the third dimensional game where we all grow up and play, if you basically start playing in emotions and I want this, but they didn't give it to me, or that person wasn't nice to me, you get a whole lot of other variables. So we're not going to call those rays, but we're going to call those pieces of information, just like making the ingredients into your cake, all of a sudden start to form a whole set of patterns in how you live your life. But you don't remember why you are angry at that person over there sometimes. Or even more so, you see somebody who's wearing a blue shirt that looks like a blue shirt your father used to wear when your father yelled at you all the time. But you didn't keep that relationship conscious in your mind, but you now don't like that person with the blue shirt over there. And you don't know why you don't like them. And so what we do is we're not very good at paying attention to what we do, and we're not very good at creating a filing system that lets us access what we want, when we want, and how we want. So, and the rays of creation are working perfectly, correctly, all the time in your reality. So this is where sometimes people say, well, it's the fault of that, or the ray didn't work, or what I was told was not true. But what happens is in the rays of creation, they're so fundamental. It's like electricity, let's say. If you put your finger in that light socket 100 times, guaranteed, unless the main electricity is off, you are going to have a very specific result. Guaranteed, with very little variation in the result. So when it comes to these rays of creation and you start to recognize what they do and how they're structured and what they're for, all of a sudden it's like somebody gave you not only the recipe for the cake, but the understanding of which kind of sugar you need to use to get a particular result, or what kind of salt, because there's many kinds of salt, or why you don't put the cayenne pepper into this recipe. So all of a sudden, the recipe, the formula, the understanding of the mechanics of 1 + 1 = 2 type of things begins to make much more sense. And all of a sudden, you start to live your life from a more managed, focused, intentional way than just being sloppy and haphazard and hoping what you did yesterday will work tomorrow.
Does it work to say that the rays of creation, at least from what you're outlining here, are a process? Like this is kind of how you're making the cake. You're bringing the ingredients together, but there's more to that though, right? Because then there's kind of, are they made of light? How are they part of the ingredients, the atoms that you're creating as well?
They are the light and they are the atoms. And see, so what happens, the question is a good question, but basically it stops, it goes to a certain level and then it doesn't have any room to go further. So when, in your question, is it made of light? What happens is most people don't have any clue what that means. Is it made of light? It's just a concept that I've heard over and over, and I'm a spiritual person, so it must be made of light. Well, what does that mean? What does that mean? And so now, so to the question, what are the rays? You start to get into a understanding of here's the mechanics of making that cake, living your life, having experience. And when you understand how each one of these components works and what it offers, because all it is an offering. It's like, here's a hammer, and the hammer has these applications. And when you use it this way, you will repeatedly get the same result. And so once you begin to understand kind of the rules and structures of something, in this case, how do the rays work and how do I begin to use them? So now I said at the beginning in Mastering Alchemy, we're playing with really 10 rays, but there's an infinite number of rays. And what that means, without confusing this, is, well, what happens when I combine ray 4 and ray 7? I get a different result. I get a different cake than when I put 3 and 9 together. And so understanding kind of what the rays do and how do you choose to use them is really the kind of key to the game. And Mastering Alchemy is set up really all about the rays and structures for you not only to create what you want, but also how to uncreate what you don't want. Because we have a tendency to do a lot of different things in life and then either get embarrassed or guilty or fall into blame or get angry about, and then we carry it in our backpack for the rest of our life, either consciously or unconsciously. And so would you like to have a set of tools that allow you to clean out that resentment that you had towards a teacher in 8th grade that really shaped your life into a particular direction that you are still blaming that person for. So with that all said, now we can begin to talk about the rays. But did I answer your question?
Yes. So they're both a process of how you create, right? So you're displaying how you create, as well as the ability to uncreate, right? Because that's the unconscious places where we accept other people's truths, or this is how it is, or so these kind of constructions of thought and creation, we can both put things together and then take them apart.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Good.
See, so we'll talk about this in a minute, but one of those things that if I said to you, would it be useful to have a tool that allowed you to look at your past and unravel your past as you hold it hostage against yourself? I was bad and I failed and I'm not smart and I didn't do it right and they blamed me. And we say, well, that was the past and the past is fixed and I can't change it. As soon as you start to recognize what the rays do, you begin to very quickly recognize the past is not fixed, and the ability to rearrange your past is actually very available to you using the rays.
Yeah, that's a dream come true. Who doesn't want that remote in life where you can just rewind? Okay, now let's remove that part. Now go back.
Yeah, but some assembly required. This is not a magic wand. It requires you to do something. Not complicated, just understand, I've been doing it this way all along and it hasn't worked. What happens if I just change? An example I give you all the time, I know the door opens and I keep pushing and pushing and you keep telling me it opens, but it doesn't open. And all of a sudden, have you ever considered pulling it? No, nobody told me I could pull the door and the door opens. It's really very much that simple. We just have to kind of step back and recognize opportunities.
Yeah, and I like the process, and what you're pointing out here is it's simple, and it's just a matter of becoming more aware of what has been created and put together. So less effort, I guess, of all the efforting in this idea of creation, and I have to do, but it's more becoming aware of, oh, that didn't work quite right. What's a different perspective, or how can I look at this here to pull it apart? That's a really good distinction. That's good. Can we take this a little bit deeper and go through maybe the rays? Because I'm interested in the process between, say, the first ray down to how we use 4, 5, and 6 and to the 10. So could you take maybe an example of either baking a cake and how that works and walk us through the rays as you're walking us through that process?
Everything starts with creator. Now, whether you call creator God, all it is, supreme being, creator, doesn't matter. The nature of creator, you are creator. You are made from the creator. It's okay. So that's not an argument or a philosophical conversation. Right here, without getting into it any deeper, you and the creator are one. Okay. And one of the aspects of all the work in Mastering Alchemy, it was said that your task as the creator, you, me, is to reflect back to the creator, bigger, what the creator is. That's your purpose here, to simply enjoy yourself, be excited, have great experiences, create with lots of laughter and smiles, and thoroughly enjoy what's possible as a reflection back to the creator, what the creator is. Now, as soon as I say all that, people go, oh, that would be nice, but my life doesn't work that way. You don't understand. I don't have enough. There's lack and I'm poor, or, I'm in this situation and it continues on. And so one of the pieces that is a concept at this point is you and the creator are one. And the creator is all about well-being. Now, if you can just allow that to be a statement right here and not argue with, but that's not my experience, just allow it to be, okay, I'll I'm looking for a new set of structures and a new set of how to build my cake. And what I have been doing hasn't quite got me the cake I'm looking for. So I'm just going to start to look at some new constructs. First ray, the creator and you are one. Okay. And then you get to the second ray, and second ray is really interesting because it does something very simple. It provides a concept to step energy up or step energy down. Now, when you start at the creator level, and then you hear somebody like me say you and the creator are one, it's like, well, that's an oxymoron. That's a disconnect. I mean, the creator, me, doesn't seem to match. But we're not going to try to figure out the first part. So what happens at second ray, creator says, oh, I get it. So here, let me step the energy down to a level to where you can play with it and begin to have observations that allow you to step into more well-being, something even greater, something more that has more laughter to it rather than disappointment. And so the purpose is, it's like in using that light socket. Sometimes if you take your US plug and you plug it into a European plug in the wall, you have some conflict there because there's a mismatch of how electricity flows in the two areas. So what you have to do is you have to step one down or step one up to interface or match comfortably. And so that second ray allows for all this stepping up and stepping down. Really a big deal as you start to recognize, how do I step out of where I am? As in an emotion, I'm really angry about this. And somebody says, is it serving you? Are you enjoying yourself? How is your day going? And you say, I'm miserable and I can't get past this thing stuck in my head. Well, what if you could? What if you realized, I'm going to take a breath and recognize I can just step over here and be out of that set of emotions that I am in. And so all you're doing is changing the vibration of the energy to something that feels better. And we do that all the time. You know, you're in one mood and somebody says something and you change into another mood. All that's happening is the energy is stepping up or stepping down or repositioning itself to provide for you exactly what you're holding your attention upon. So that second ray is really valuable, but there's another part to the second ray to start to answer one of your questions. Second ray is where color comes from. Color. Now, all the color already exists in the creator in the first ray, but basically stepping everything down and you get to the level where we're playing and we have a very specific color spectrum that we live in this third dimensional reality. And so that range of color that we have available to it, not only the visible spectrum of light, but the non-visible spectrum of light, we play in all the time. When you kind of play in a higher level in the bigger dimensions, there's a bigger spectrum of light. But it's not something that we can even really figure out right here because we're still down there bumping around in a certain vibrational field. So second ray. Third ray is really kind of the pieces, it's the assembly of creation. It's the assembly. It's the nuts, it's the bolts, it's the electricity, it's the color, it's the light, it's the material. It's all of the frequencies and sub-frequencies, vibrations that you need to hold your hand out and have the apple appear. Okay? So now think about it, step back from that and think about you're going to, make a new computer and you're very adept at making computers. When you start out, you recognize I need 10 different things to make that work, and they're not all the same things, and they all do different pieces of work. And so the third ray is effectively what provides all of those 10 things for the computer to be built.
Could you say that those are a bit like you have your motherboard and all the different units that you're putting on your computer? You really do literally have to kind of glue it down, screw it down, tie it in. So would those nuts and bolts kind of be the construction of how all of these things are being put together? Would that be a good term? So one more kind of thought around that, you know how oil and water won't mix, but if you add an emulsifier agent or like an egg, then it'll mix and hold together. So that's kind of what the third ray is doing. It's the construction and the way and holding the components together that you want that would normally split apart.
Yes. So it kind of provides all the pieces for all the applications you wish. Okay. It provides the glue to hold it all together, but it doesn't glue it together. You do. See, now this is where you are the creator. What do you want? How do you want it? See, what my wonderful vacation is may be very different than your wonderful vacation. And so when I say, you know, give me the Swiss Alps in my backyard and the lagoon off the front porch with the whales and dolphins in it, you know, you may be a desert person. So that doesn't have any application to you as a wonderful vacation. And so the pieces, though, are very much there for what you desire. All the pieces are there for what you desire.
Would you, or could you say that the glue that's holding it together, you say that's me as the creator, does that have anything to do with the first ray? With you and the will of you and the creator being one? Like, hey, I have this idea. I want to make a cake. This sounds so exciting, right? That would be the first ray, the will of you and the creator going, this sounds like fun.
Yeah. Yeah. It has everything to do with that. And in simple terms, you are the creator to create in this game that we're playing in, and the creator just steps back. Now, if you say, creator, let's sit down and here's what I'm thinking and I'd like your help. Creator's always there to help. Higher self is always there to help. But if it's, and we'll get to this a little later, if it's the place where you say, well, I got this great idea, I'm just going to go do it, and you don't pause to see if, is it going to really work? Is there all the pieces there to make it work? Is it haphazard? Is it reactionary? Am I just throwing energy around? Or is this an intentional creation? And if it's intentional, a lot of times you don't have to say, oh, creator, help me out here. Let's get together and have a conversation. It's just you beginning to be in that quiet, intentional place. And I could say something about love here in a minute, but it's that place where this is going to be great. I'm excited about this. Creator's excited about it too. But here you are the creator being to create.
I think I want to just kind of touch this just a little bit and bring in that love component you're talking about, because I think the will of the creator and you and the creator and co-creating one gets sticky sometimes, because I will give up all my seniority or well, there's what I want to. So interesting. If you're thinking about it from a creation standpoint, it's balance, I guess, is really when you're aligning in with the will of the creator, correct? Like it's that love. It's like, oh, is it all functioning together or is it a little wobbly and tipsy? And that's kind of where you're in alignment. Would that be a good place to say?
Yeah. So if you can step back and kind of get present right now, take a breath and ask yourself, is this working? Am I kind of really noticing it, or am I leaning into my future and rushing this? See, all the pieces are there. Love is there too. We'll talk about love if you'd like later, but all the components, light, love, creation, all's right there. But are you using them? Are you paying attention? Now, without going here, the third dimensional game is very noisy, awkward, and constructed for a very specific set of purposes, which is not love and light and beauty and let's kind of go, la, 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 and sit on the rainbow. It can be, but it's your choice. See, in third dimensional game, we generally engage in reaction. Everything we've been saying is basically, I'm reacting to. when you start to get into a little quieter place, you start to play with these rays, you kind of move into that fourth, fifth dimensional space. And in that fourth, fifth dimensional space, choice exists. In the third dimensional space, reaction exists. Now, that takes us into a whole different topic, and we won't go there. But just for the sake of this, in the rays, you're constantly in different dimensions, depending on your present state of mind, I mean, where you are present, and how you choose or how you react to what's in front of you.
Okay, so I'm loving this, and I want to go this direction because we're talking about something very interesting. It's easy to kind of, at least in the coursework, we do a lot of good work explaining the different rays. Here's what 1 does. Here's what 2, 3 through 5. So you can kind of watch and see how it unfolds as you're baking your cake or your recipe. But this is interesting when you're talking about dimensions in the way that that's going to change the rules, right? So you're talking about third dimensional rules are, it's kind of constructed, the system is constructed and put together this way. It's louder, it's noisier. There's not a lot of balance inside here. And then the fourth dimension we've talked about before, this is right, your thought realm. And then the fifth dimension is kind of things in balance, right? It has a lot more of that love component. So the rays still exist within all of these 3 dimensions, but how you use them and apply them kind of can change because in the third dimension, you don't have your pause, right? And that critical pause to go, oh, is this in balance? Stepping back into, would you say the first ray? And am I aligned? And is this working? And then versus kind of just in flow versus in the fifth dimension, that's just kind of part of the framework and it's set up as a baseline as how things work. Any thoughts?
So that third dimensional space is structured in such a way that it's conditional. Now, let me say this again. You exist in 3 different dimensions at any given time. Okay. You have access to all 3. In the third dimension, it's reactionary. It's conditional. It's built on duality, good, bad, right, wrong, should, shouldn't. It allows for imposition of others, domination, control of others, which is mostly a reactionary statement. If I can beat you up before you beat me up, then I'll be okay mindset. And so that's evolved over a long time into this structure of how the third dimension is played out. You know, war is a choice. It's not a fixed thing in any one place. And if you really look at it, generally things like war are only a handful of people who want it, but everybody gets involved in it. And then it basically creates sides, etc. But that fourth dimensional space, that fifth dimensional space, you have choice. And you also have pause, which allows you to take a breath, step back, be right in present time, and then choose. That's a very different place than being angry at, irritated with, and throwing energy at somebody because they said something you decided you didn't like it. So it very much third, fourth, fifth dimensions and the rays are constructed in such a way that how you think and how you hold emotions and feelings determine the experience that you have.
Excellent. So do the rays work inside the third dimension? I mean, is this where we use 4, 5, and 6 nonstop, right? We're trying to unwind it all. 8th ray, take it out. We kind of are pulling out some of the strings in the way our third dimension or our reactionary state has been constructed, right? But then more in, say, the fifth dimension, this is more creationary where you're like, or, hey, this sounds like fun. What do I need? What are my ingredients? Let's go. Cookies and brownies, sunshine and rainbows.
Even make fifth dimension more simple. Fifth dimension is well-being. So now you just got to hear this without going into reaction, third dimension. And what I'm going to say is in the fifth dimension, fear, anger, resentment, blame, guilt, imposition doesn't exist. Simply doesn't exist. Now, with that said, everybody that's listening, just pause And if I said to you, if you could create the perfect reality that you would like, does it have fear, resentment, jealousy in it? I've never heard anybody say, yeah, I want 3 of those, please. And a sharp stick in the eye. It doesn't get said. So for the purpose of this conversation, if you would allow a place, an alignment, 5th dimension, to simply be a place where respect, dignity, kindness, all of those words, laughter, co-creation, cooperation, that's 5th dimension. Now, the really interesting part of 3rd dimension and 5th dimension, they are both sitting in the chair you're sitting in right now. It's not some other planet that you travel to have this wonderful experience. No, it's right here. So here, let's go into the 4th ray to kind of make a point. So you got all the components with the 3rd dimension to create the reality you want. And it's now in a place where assembly occurs. But 3rd dimension, if you're in angers and fears and resentments, you begin to build a whole structure of a personality that demonstrates itself consciously and unconsciously all the time. 3rd dimensional personality. And one of the key components of that 3rd dimensional personality is based on linear time. Big component of 3rd dimension, linear time. Now, if you ask 100 people on the street, is there anything else but past, present, future, and you die? Virtually all of them will say, no, that's what it is. But that's not what it is. So time is an application. It has multiple components, and it's not fixed. But for the discussion we're having right here, what that linear time does in 3rd dimension, it creates a belief that the past is the past and it's fixed. And I can't change what's happened in the past. Also, what's happened in the past says, in my future, this is what I need to be afraid of, or this is what I need to embrace. So all of a sudden, if you really look at it, we wind up living in this split, divided reality of a great amount of my attention is in the future, worrying or hoping, and a great amount of my attention is in the past in I can't change it, and therefore this is who I am. And the gap between is called present time, but present time gap isn't even a gap. It's just simply a state of being that when you get into present time and you pause and you say, what would I like? There is no past and there is no future. It simply begins to be, here I am. Now, if you can allow that, when you bring in the 4th ray, tremendous opportunities happen. 4th ray is massive, but how one part of it works is it's the part where you say, I have all those pieces from the 3rd dimension, and I'm really excited about creating this cake. And you start building the cake. And the 4th ray says, would you like me to assemble the cake with you? For you, not for you. Nothing is for you. Everything is with you. Would you like to use the 4th ray and we'll assemble this cake? And because you're excited and enthusiastic, as we start to assemble the pieces, I, 4th ray, are going to basically just kind of say, do you want the sugar or do you want the cayenne pepper? They are sitting in the same similar jar right over there. And all of a sudden you have discernment. You go, oh, I better pay attention, present time. And so the 4th ray is this tremendous aspect of you that assembles your creations, your thoughts, your beliefs, your wants, your hopes, your dreams, your resentments, your fears. It doesn't discriminate. It just, you say, I want, or I am angry at, happy with, excited about, scared of. 4th ray says, no problem. Because you're the creator being, we, the universe, the rays, will provide you exactly what you ask for. Exactly what you ask for. And so it assembles. But the piece that gets left out of the equation in 3rd dimension is the past is not fixed. And that 4th ray also has the capacity for you to say, I'm done with this experiment. I would like to take it apart. So that holding on to that guilt or blame with that 8th grade teacher who changed your life in a way that may be uncomfortable, and you're still angry at that person, and you pause in this space right here and really say, is this useful to me? You know, I'm 50 years old. I'm carrying around a 13-year-old anger. Is this useful to me? And if you can get in present time and actually recognize, no, it's not useful to you at all, you say to the 4th ray, I would like to deconstruct this configuration of anger and resentment towards somebody. I would literally like to have it taken apart and I can let it go. Now, if you're paying attention and you're genuinely right there with it, that's how it works. If you're going, hey, 4th ray, fix this for me, it doesn't work. But if you're being very intentional, you're going to find that you start to all of a sudden experience your life differently. I'm not as resentful lately. Geez, I've been laughing a little bit more. I don't feel angry as I have for some time. Well, what happened? Somebody says. And your answer is, I don't know, but I like where I am.
Do you want to just, for those who are playing in Mastering Alchemy, mention the 5th and 6th ray and how they function in that process so they can see that and have a little more clarity for that?
Yeah. So in Mastering Alchemy, we keep this really simple. These are gigantic creators of things. So the 4th ray basically allows you to assemble what you want and disassemble what you have wanted anytime you would like to. Really simple. Put it together, take it apart. No consequences, just simply doesn't serve me anymore. In the process of doing that, the 5th ray begins to be like the workbench. And so one of the things, let me say the 6th ray too. 6th ray is like the library. Now, we're keeping it really simple. So you basically say, this is no longer serving me, that argument with that 8th grade teacher. And what you do is you want to just bring it in, you recognize it, and you put it on the 5th ray workbench. And you look at it. Is there any value to this? Is there anything redeeming about this? Is there any part of this that I would like to keep? Now pay attention to that question. Don't go, no, get it all out of here. Pay attention. Because using another sample that works is sometimes people feel isolated. People feel disconnected from other people. People feel left out, not engaged with, not invited. And all of a sudden you get to this stage and you say, I want that all gone. I want engagement, communication. I want to be really involved with people. I want to be immersed with people all the time. But if you take a breath, do you really want to be immersed with people all the time? So what about that Saturday morning walk that you do by yourself? What about that nice time where you sit and read your book? So you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You just bring it to this workbench and you objectively, present time, look at it and ask the question, is there anything of value to this experience with that 8th grade teacher? And if you pause for a little bit and ask it genuinely, there may be something of value and there may be nothing. And at that point, you do something that is really cool. You just simply call on the 6th ray, the library in the sky. Keep it really simple and basically say, I no longer have a need for this anger, this isolation, this withdrawal. Please check it back in and maybe somebody else might want it someday. So that process works real well about dismantling, but at the same time, the process works really well about creating. And so you're looking for something new. You want to do something that's different. You're thinking about a project and it's kind of sitting there. Simply say to the library, would you provide me all of the 3rd ray pieces that I can use to assemble my computer we talked about earlier? All of the pieces, can we bring them down and put them on the workbench? what's possible. Some of those things you will like, some of the things that don't seem important, some apply, some don't apply. And all of a sudden, you'll hit a point where you hit off and that light bulb goes on. It's like, oh, that's an interesting idea. Maybe this will work. And all of a sudden, what doesn't work goes away. What does work starts to gel. And at some point you go, yes, this is what I want. All you're doing is saying to the fourth ray, assemble this and bring it into form for me to play with.
I love how simple and mechanical it is. It doesn't make it dramatic. It's not drawn out. It's not just like, it's just like, oh, do you want it? Do you not want it? In that lovely neutral state, you can pull apart and put together so many amazing pieces of you that you want and don't want. And I would love to ask a little bit more clarity in regards to, so there's more rays. There's 8, 9, and 10 that we play with. The 8th ray is really interesting because it's the magical pencil. We can erase things and we can both create things with it. Can you talk about it in relationship to the 4th, 5th, and 6th ray?
So in the context of mastering alchemy, it's as if the 8th ray has a little bit more potency, and don't eliminate all the other tools to play with the 8th ray, because the other tools all have function. It would be as if I handed you a set of hammers and there are 10 different sizes. And I say, boy, this really big sledgehammer does the best job ever of putting big nails into the ground or wood. And that's, you decide I'm going to use that, and then you want to hang a picture in your living room. That may not be the tool, the hammer you want to use to tack the nail into the wall. And so it's a tool, it's a construct, it's there for application. And so one of the things, now we're getting into a set of applications in a little different construction than, or an expanded construction where we were talking. So it's all about, one of the components is this backpack that we walk around with that's filled with all your life statements that say, I'm not okay, nobody likes me, I don't fit, I'm not smart enough, I'm never going to succeed. Whatever your statements are, they're sitting here in a backpack that you said, I keep having this, I don't like this, but I'm going to put it back here so it gets out of the way and I never have to deal with it. But it's a backpack and you're carrying it all around. It's just never been cleaned out. What happens here is, this is where you want to understand that the universe is 100% on your side. 100%. And it basically says, you're the creator being, and I, the universe, my job is to provide to you absolutely everything you asked for. Now, right about here, somebody jumps in and goes, hey, I asked for the car, the house, the trophy wife, the trophy husband, blah, 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 and I never got it. Well, see, the universe really only understands language of vibration. It doesn't understand English, French, and Spanish. And so you can be saying, yes, this is what I want, but that backpack is going, yeah, but I don't deserve. Pay attention to how many times you ask for something and the last thing you say is, but. And the universe pauses and says, I'll wait until you get past the but, and then I'll provide you what you're asking for. The but just stops everything. Now, so as we get to this 8th ray, what makes the 8th ray very valuable is, let's say in your personality, you've thought, I'm not okay in situation A. And then 2 years later, you thought, I'm not okay in situation B. And C and D and E and F and G and it all follow. And so you've been kind of winding this, I'm not okay, in many different variable experiences, interactions with people. And what it's done is it's kind of pushed you into a corner where it's like, I can't go over there. I don't trust going over there. I can't talk to those people because they may not like me. And so pretty soon you find yourself smaller and smaller and smaller. without permission, you believe. And so when you start playing in Mastering Alchemy in that level 2 project particularly, you start to realize that you've created something we're going to call strings of thought. I'm really angry with my mother, and I'm angry at her mother too. And then my wife's father is not very good either. And I'm weaving all these strings together in my reality that basically create a big lump of yarn that says, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. I don't know how to get out of this. I'm not okay. I don't have any friends. Nobody likes me. None of that is true, but we believe. And so as you begin to play in the eighth ray, as you begin to play Mastering Alchemy, and you start to rewire yourself in the early part of level 2, and then you start to get these choices with 4th, 5th, 6th ray, and then you start to begin to play with other aspects of recognizing that a lot of what I hold myself hostage to simply isn't true. I've made it up. And that one really big story that says you're not okay, the time your mother, father, teacher, minister yelled at you, and they basically said, you're stupid, you're not okay. Simply what they did, you begin to recognize is, here's a gift. Let me give you this gift. You're not okay. And what we do is we don't know what to do, but we accept it. And then we walk around trying to figure out for the rest of your life, what did I do wrong? And the answer is nothing. It was their bad lifetime at one moment or many moments, but you did nothing wrong. You see, it's impossible to be not okay. Impossible. We work hard at it. But see, now you got all those, I don't like me, they didn't like me, I didn't do it right. Lots of strings all over the place. Now you begin to understand it. Now the eighth ray is the tool to remove all of the I'm not okays, or many, many of them, and all of the strings of thought that hold them together. And it's an amazing tool when understood and applied, not just randomly thrown up against the wall.
I think this is a really great distinction. And if I can pull this out just into 4, 5, and 6. So if you're in 4 and you're like, hey, let's go back to the 8th grade teacher example. My teacher yelled at me. I don't really need the anger anymore that I've been carrying around. So I'm looking at it on the 5th table. And then I'm asking, is this of value? And if you get an answer back that says yes, it could be that there's multiple places of this. And then that's where the 8th ray would come in and go, oh yeah, but don't you also remember in 6th grade this happened? Oh yeah, and it happened later with your boss. So you can see kind of the repeating string patterns. And there the potency of the 8th ray comes in and goes, oh, now you can unwind it. So you have the meticulous detail inside, say, 4, 5, and 6 rays. And then you have this kind of expansiveness and potency is kind of what you're saying with the 8th ray, where you're coming in and going, oh, look at all of this. This is a big ball of yarn. Let's pull out as many of the strings as I can and let those things go with the 8th ray. And then you can kind of reconstruct yourself and put yourself back together from that point.
Correct. But be really clear, there is no free lunch. Some assembly required. And so this isn't, oh, God, take care of me, fix this, because that energy will not. It will work with you, but it will not work for you. And so there's a place, so if you play with this and begin to recognize that this has no use to me, this has no value to me, all of a sudden there's a whole awareness that pops up and you begin to realize a whole lot of those statements, you're not okay, were never even yours, and they were never your idea. And that's a pretty amazing space where you all of a sudden take a breath that you haven't taken for years.
Yeah, and I think what you're pointing out just a minute ago about how it's really big, very potent, but you can't use it in a state of neediness, like, I'm not okay, somebody help me, I can't get out of this. Like, that immediately drops you out. You can't use the 8th ray in that kind of a state of being. So that it requires that neutrality, present time, to be able to look at it in order to be able to move it. And interesting, because it's fun to have you walk through this all. because it's purely, in some ways, if I can simplify it this far, a matter of just consciousness, being conscious of, oh, this is uncomfortable. I don't want this, and I can let it go. Or I would like this. Doesn't that sound fun? Let's go create. Like, and it's very simplistic. It's just a matter of creating greater consciousness, understanding, awareness, and that's kind of all that's required in this process.
Yeah. And that's a lot, but it even gets, in a way, simpler, because what we do is, as you start to, in the early part of level 2, you do a lot of rewiring. You put yourself back together in a way that you begin to have a little bit more of an understanding of, how did I get here, or not here in this situation? And you all of a sudden have opportunities to change the situation where you never had before. So that first 6, 7 sessions are really valuable from rewiring.
This is where you're talking about the different triads. So you're getting yourself into a kind of a stable, energetic construction in order to be able to more effectively use these tools and ways of creation. Is that
Correct.
what you're saying?
Correct. Yeah. This whole process, though, begins to be, it's about you becoming you. And one of the challenges of the third dimension is the game board has been, up until now, very rigid. It's here's the rules, here's the structure, you do this, you're supposed to, grow up, go to school, go to college, get married, have 2.2 kids, go have a white picket fence, here's the dream. Well, that went away a long time ago before the dream ever got realized it wasn't working. And now you got 2 people in the family working 2 jobs, and we got kids, I think. I haven't seen them for a while. And all of that is really, really challenging, that whole space. And it's because we're playing the game. Now, the really amazing part of the game we're playing now is the third dimension is falling away. The rules and structures are no longer as rigidly held together. That's what you see all over the world. You're watching freedom begin to be consciously sought after. And you're beginning to see people wanting love, whatever that word means, in its infinite number of definitions. People are wanting more and less of what they've been dealing with. And so you're watching the third dimensional game fall apart. Now, the challenge is there's so much noise that if you keep giving your noise attention to the noise of the game, the ability to get quiet, sit down, meditate, and enjoy yourself, it doesn't work real well. But if you can basically just find time to really sit down and like yourself, be pleased with yourself, and recognize these tools have application as a tool. Do this, this happens. And if you follow kind of the yellow brick road here, you're going to start to find some really astonishing things. And mostly when I say that, you're going to be a little happier. You're going to be a little quieter. You're going to be a little less reactionary. You're going to kind of like yourself. And I've got to put the and piece in here. And as you start to say, I wish to know myself, all the stuff in that backpack starts coming out. And so understanding the value, we haven't talked about the rose, or the value of staying on your side of the aura, the value of being grounded in the center of your head, all level 1, beginning level 2 stuff. All that construction allows you to keep the noise somewhat away from you to be able to like yourself in a way you haven't most likely for some time.
This is such a powerful process to go through, the kind of understanding how creation works, how you put together things, how you can pull apart things, and then the process of kind of establishing this kind of strong foundation for you to be able to stand on. And then as you kind of do that, opening up into kind of getting what you want, right? That ultimate smile that you're living from every day. So it's very interesting in context to kind of how the world and is kind of trying to figure out how to get there. So this is kind of a beautiful step-by-step process that allows you to be able to go, oh, I can just unwind this, versus trying to, figure it out or fix it, or you're like, oh no, this is easy. I got this. I've got my tools and can step forward and into the next moment. So it's really exciting.
Yeah, it becomes an awareness of application where there has not been any awareness of application, and you've been on your own out there wandering around trying to make things work and just be happy and enjoy yourself and fit in and laugh a whole lot. And we have learned to doubt. We've learned to be fearful. We've learned to not say something because somebody might not like it. And we have really conditioned the society to simply be in doubt. And so this space, if you play in it and you kind of pay attention and decide you're going to give it, the length of level 2 to play it out, I guarantee you the you who started the journey is not going to be the you that finishes the journey. And the you that finishes the journey, and I can say that from tens of thousands of people have played in Mastering Alchemy, and they are not the same beings. And you also find something along the path of all this work that you most can't hear as soon as I say it, but you're big. You're significant. You're important in this process. You didn't just show up here at this time accidentally to be a spectator, in front row seats. You came here to participate and make a difference. Now, make a difference might be as simply as, in fact, the one that's most important first and foremost is you. Getting to like yourself, experience yourself, be joyful with yourself, find this ease in yourself, begin to be able to be present and know when to step back and know when to step forward. Those are skills. And the rays allow you to begin to develop and hone those skills with a lot of comfort and success.
I like that. That's the perfect place to end. This is about comfort, ease, success, joy, and putting a big smile back on your face again to go, oh yeah, I got this. I'm here to make a difference and I can do this. I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jim.
And it's a set of skills that enable you to know yourself.
Yes.
Yep.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Well, thank you. Appreciate you.
My pleasure.